You be welcome to train all of this.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is David Payton, and I play the character of Herb / John Collins on Marvel's WandaVision. And you're listening to Pop Culture with Pat. Get you on the flip side.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today's guest, I'm really excited to have on the show. He's had a number of roles, including things like Waves, Chicago PD. He's currently on a little show that you might be familiar with. Right now it's number one in the world. It's WandaVision, and he plays everyone's favorite neighbor on the show, Herb. David Payton, thank you for coming on the show today, David.
Oh man, stop making me blush, man. You know I'm a little too dark-skinned to blush, man. I appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you, and it's an honor to be on the show. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again. Yeah, I mean, so for because this is one of your really big breaks, which is crazy. Getting to be in a Marvel project. For those who aren't familiar, with some of your like previous work, just kind of your background, can you just give a little bit of your story and how you got started?
I mean, first, it's just to even have this break, man. It's a blessing from God. So I gotta thank Him for just giving me all these opportunities. I mean, I literally started out, doing small gigs from working some community theaters when I got out the military honorably, and and started working those things and then working my way up. I did it slightly. Well, the majority without guidance, and I had to do some research, reach out to certain people who would actually, reach back, and, one thing led to another, and then you're right.
And now, and that was something I just wanted to, get a little bit of your backstory, because like I feel like for some people who've never been like in the industry and just kind of are looking from the outside in, it's like, oh hey, like I just want to be an actor, and I just like one day I just become an actor, and that's just like how it is. And it's like, no, there's a lot of like backstory,
Right.
branding and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is, man. It's basically, I mean, everything starts with an idea, right? If you want to become something, you start thinking about it. You really start to, the wheels start turning in your head, and you're like, okay, I want to be an actor. For me, it was like that. It was like, I'll take that back. I didn't. It wasn't like I just out the blue wanted to be an actor.
Yeah,
I kind of knew I wanted to do something in entertainment. Whether if it was comedy or acting, my passion grew from my early stages of being little growing up. But for those who do want to go into acting, you just had the thought like, hey, I want to be an actor. That's a great thing, but you got to understand, like, it comes with a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of networking, and a lot of initiative. You got to take a lot of initiative. So there's a lot that goes to it. It's not as hard as you think, but it is definitely strenuous.
that was actually, I was going to ask you, for someone who's maybe thinking like, hey, this might be something that I want to look into. You kind of just answered it right there, but I was going to say, like, what would be some of your advice that you would give to someone kind of thinking about maybe pursuing acting, or even just getting into Hollywood in general. So I think that's that's some great advice, like, right there. Yeah, no, and so again, you play everyone's favorite neighbor, Herb, in the show WandaVision. Can you just talk a little bit about one, just how did you get the role, the audition process, and what was, in general, just what was your first day walking onto the set like?
Man, let me tell you, I felt like I belonged. Not to sound conceited, or I just felt like I belong in that atmosphere. When I got the part, that was a surreal moment. My agent called me, and I know I talked about this story numerous times. When my agent called me, well, she actually really didn't call me. She FaceTimed me, And my agent don't really FaceTime. She'll just call. She'll be like, "Hey, hon, you got the part." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Time to get to work." She actually literally FaceTimed me. She was ecstatic. She was actually more excited than I was. And she was like, "Hey, hon, I just want to tell you, I'm with my girls. I'm celebrating. You got the part." Because she's like real Southern. She got that Southern accent. I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool. What part?" She's like, "Marvel." I was like, "You messing with me, right?" She's like, "No, I'm serious." And I was like, "All right." So I was all on the outside, like trying to be all cool, but on the inside I was like a little fat kid. I was like, "Yes, oh, I got it." So it was a surreal moment at that point. I just, I was on my lunch break at my job, and I was driving back to work, and I was just screaming in my car. And once I got all that out, I was like, "Okay, it's time to get to work." So when I got to work, my first day on set, it was an even more surreal moment. I've been on sets prior to that, but I mean, this is Marvel, it was super magical. As cliche as that sounds, it's true. Super magical. Working with everyone, I mean, just was phenomenal.
What about even too? So like, you get on set like that first day, you finish up shooting like your first day and everything. What was it like? What was your reaction, coming home like afterwards? Were you like super nervous? Were you just like, I can't believe, what's happening like right now? I'm on a Marvel set. Like, what was your initial reaction, I guess, that night after your first like shooting?
A lot of those thoughts ran through my mind, like I said, like it was a surreal moment. At the same time, it was like I mostly, for the majority of the time, felt like I belonged there. And my thought process was, okay, Payton, this is okay. You're really happy to be here. You're standing next to some of the best of the best. I mean, you got Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Catherine Hahn, Tiana Paris, just so many, greats amongst others. So it's okay. It was cool for me to have that feeling, but I had to calm myself down internally so I can make sure I'm staying focused.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm giving the best possible character. But yeah, when I got home from that first day of filming, well, to the hotel rather, I just kind of sat on the bed and was like, yeah, I just worked with Paul Bettany and Catherine Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen. All right.
I imagine you
That's
probably didn't
cool.
get a whole lot of sleep that night, probably.
Man, let me tell you, man, it was I had some interesting dreams, I'll say that. All happy, all PG-13.
That's hilarious. And so, being a part of Marvel, one of the, and a lot of a lot of sets have this where it's like, you're sworn to a certain level of secrecy, but with Marvel, Disney and stuff, it's a whole nother level. It's like, yeah, can't say, got to be very careful like what you're saying. So, you get this role, dream role here. How hard is it to, one, like, just like family members, you got fans and stuff that I'm sure like are reaching out to you. How hard is it to have to have kept this secret for this amount of time as far as like the show goes?
It wasn't that hard for me because, I've already had a majority of that kind of discipline already in place because I kind of like to move in a discreet manner, and on top of the fact that you sign so many contracts, you have no choice but to be discreet. I'm not saying that it was easy. No, it's very difficult to hold on to something like that, but it wasn't too hard. Trust me, I had moments where I wanted to tell my family members, my mentors, best friends, things of that nature. But I think for me, it was more valuable for me to hold on to that secret and let them see it as a surprise when everything came out, versus like, hey, I'm doing XYZ on Marvel with WandaVision. So it was a better turnout, and I'm glad I did it that way, and I'll continue to do that.
And I can't imagine too, just like, after now people have like, seen you on the show now too, and you've gotten, some of these fans from like the show that I'm sure have, started following you and stuff on social media. I'm sure I can imagine just like your messages and stuff like that, people just being like, hey, like what's happening with like this next episode and stuff like
that. All the time. Now I think it's cool. I think it's fun. Because I know how to just say, you know what I'm saying? So it creates a positive anxiety, because even like right now, this week is a huge week,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm getting a lot of messages from, colleagues and fans, saying, hey, what's about to happen next? Have to watch.
Gotta watch
because I'm enjoying the ride just like the fans are.
Yeah. So have you been watching like each episode as it airs like each week as well?
Like I'm enjoying the ride just like you guys are, and it's so phenomenal. And I'm like my mind gets blown every episode. Like, what? That happened? For real? And I like text my friends. I'm like, you should already know this. You've been in this. I'm like, look, man, if only you knew. I was like, can you believe that? And so it's fun. It's real fun.
You're not some people, and I didn't know that like right away until I started learning a little bit more about how filming and stuff like that goes. But you're not there for every single scene and every single like episode, like necessarily. So it's like you don't necessarily get to see every single thing played out. So I'm sure there's been stuff that have popped up and you're like, I didn't even know that was happening because I wasn't on set that day.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, they're doing a great job of keeping everything a secret, right? So it makes it that much more exciting, even me as an actor watching it. So I'm just enjoying the ride, and I'm glad that I didn't know a lot of this stuff, because even as I'm watching it, it makes me think like, wow, if I would have known that, would I've acted this way? You know what I mean? So
no, it's definitely a different experience, I think, not knowing the stuff and getting to enjoy it, like you said, as you have been each week. It's crazy because WandaVision, it's such a different show, just such a different project in general for Marvel, for the MCU, that they've really done up to this point. And I remember, it's funny because I've loved the show from day one. Like I loved, you guys paying tribute to like the early sitcoms and stuff like that. But, and I don't know if you saw some of the like the feedback, but some of the like early episodes, people were like, oh, like I don't really know like what this is. Like it's like sitcoms and stuff like that. And I'm like, I think it's one of those things where people are so like, not everyone, but some people, it's like instant gratification where it's like, oh, they just want to see like what's happening, what's the point of this, we got to get to it now. And it's like, you got to build up the story, but it's just such a different project, and now people are just like totally obsessed with this thing. So why do you think, like in your opinion, why have fans connected with this show on such like a high level?
I think there's a bit more creativity in it, and I mean the fact that you can't get it all at once. We live in a time where you want everything now. It's like, I want it right now. I want it right now. And it's like, even like growing up as a kid, like if you wanted some sweets, you wanted a piece of cake or something, and you get a slice, but your parents like cut that slice in portions. And you're like, what? No, just give me the whole slice. And it's like, no, have this taste. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, but I want more. If you're gonna tease me, I might as well just go somewhere else. You're like, nah, have another slice. And I think that was the key. Matt Shackman, and Jack Schaefer, they did a great job, directing and writing. And Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen just they're just killing it, just being phenomenal. And to just see it just by episode released every Friday on Disney Plus, I think that was the key that gave the anticipation. It's like the anticipation itself, you know, it was like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? You know, because everybody kept asking, like, why is it so short? I want to see more. I'm like, all right, well, we got next Friday. You know, so I think that was the key, you know, just giving it piece by piece and let the anticipation boil, and the rest is history.
Yeah, no, and that's actually something I was going to ask you too. So like, and we kind of already got into it, but like your thoughts as far as, because I mean, for a while now, you know, we had the, you know, like Netflix and stuff like that, where it was, we kind of got the binge model where it's like, you know, shows would just drop all at one time and you can just
Right.
sit down and like watch it all over a weekend and that was it.
Yeah.
But now Disney is kind of bringing back, because it was a thing before, but Disney with like The Mandalorian and with your guys' show WandaVision, you know, they're kind of bringing back that week to week, you know, release model. What are your thoughts on like those two like strategies? Obviously for WandaVision, you know, it works just because I know like as fans, it really just drives up that anticipation. It's like, and we get to speculate all week until next Friday about what's going to happen in like the next episode. So yeah, what are your thoughts on like the two different strategies, you know, the binge versus week to week?
I think they both work. I think they both work, and it all depends on the fan base, you know, because the fans, you guys have complete control when it comes to that, right? So they both work to me. Just let me be able to watch it. Let me be able to watch it, enjoy it. If it's, you know, one episode per week, or if I can binge watch it for, you know, a weekend, so be it. I think they're both great options.
Yeah, it's funny that, and like you guys, like I said, I think we're gonna actually might kind of start, because I feel like I've read a couple like articles or whatever that it sounds like Netflix and stuff might even start releasing some of their shows week to week to week instead of the binge model. And I think it's because like instead of dropping everything all at one time, and like sure you get like, you know, people buzzing about it and talking about it, instead of it just being that one time, you get it stretched out over, you know, several like weeks, where it's like you have this high anticipation like each week, instead of just being that, you know, that one release, it comes out and it's like that's it. So I think you guys, in a way, it's kind of being, you guys are like, you know, revolutionary as far as like the show goes with that too. So
Way to set the bar.
yeah, no pressure or anything like that.
Yeah, no pressure. Just the number one show in the world.
Yeah,
No
no,
pressure.
no big deal. And one of the, you know, one of the like I said, one of the most fun things as a fan, you know, I do like week to week like reviews and stuff, you know, as far as like the show goes, and speculation and stuff like that. And there's like, you know, tons of people all online, and they're all talking about the show, coming up with like their theories on, you know, what's going to happen next. As an actor on the show, how much do you get a kick out of, and if you even read some of like the theories and stuff like that, how much of a kick do you get reading, you know, that stuff from like week to week?
It's entertaining. I try not to read too much of it, especially like during the process. I mean, even during the process, I'm focused. I'm focused on, you know, the craft and the work and things of that nature. As far as the you know, the theories, it's quite entertaining. It's quite entertaining to look at. It's like, oh, you think this is gonna happen? Okay.
Yeah, because you
We'll
obviously
see about that.
you know certain things that are going to happen. Obviously, like you said, you don't know everything because where you weren't on, you know, necessarily every single like scene and episode, but you know, like to a degree. So I imagine it has to be kind of fun, you know, seeing what people think, and you're like, I actually know what's going on, like in this scene. Like, wait till you see like, you know, next week or whatever like that. So I imagine that has to be pretty fun.
It's really fun to have that access, because and it goes back to the discretion, right? Like to be so secretive, and you know, and I'm glad that, you know, we kept that integrity up for the show, because, you know, if anybody would leak any of that information, it takes away from, you know, the quality and the
It's
overall integrity of the show. And it's like, okay, so if you already know, like, why watch it? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it was cool to see all these theories, even from the past episodes, all these theories that they were seeing. And then the next episode is like, it's a different theory. And then the next episode, it's a different theory. So it's really cool to see that,
yeah.
and I think that's the joy of being a fan of the Marvel universe. And I'm enjoying the ride, just watching.
Oh, for sure. And this show, I can tell you one thing, and you probably get a kick out of it. It's, as far as the theories go, with this show, it's like, from episode one, I had theories, and then like you said, episode two, it'd be like, well, we can throw those like 4 or 5 of those theories, throw them right out the window because that's obviously not where they're going. And it just
Exactly, yeah.
every episode it's changing. So yeah, it's definitely, that whole aspect is fun. You mentioned that you got to obviously work with some amazing, people on the show, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Catherine Hahn, a bunch of people. Just what was your experience, working with, specifically like Elizabeth Olsen, Catherine Hahn, and like Paul Bettany? Because I know like you obviously got to have some moments like one-on-one kind of with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my one-on-one moments with them were phenomenal, man. Like memorable to the point where, I feel like I have relationships with them now. Like even like with Paul Bettany, he a phenomenal actor, and he gave me words of encouragement, which I thought was just mind blowing because I even had to tell him, um, at one point, like I was like, I loved you in A Knight's Tale. Man, that's like one of my favorite movies. It was like, it was great to see you in there. Like, that was dope. And he was like, you're a good actor. I was like, nah, you just, thank you. Oh, thank you. So, and, after that, he kind of, we had a conversation, man. He gave me some words of encouragement and told me to, stay focused. And I was like, cool, that is dope.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm gonna remember this moment. So I was like a little kid, man, and even working with Elizabeth, and, having conversations with her, picking her brain, just just soaking up as much as I can. And I just thought that was really cool. Even with Catherine Hahn is freaking hilarious. Just a wonderful person. Everybody. I mean, not only them, just everyone from the janitors to the chefs to the background and the cast. I mean, just everybody was just dope. They were really dope.
Yeah, you got to remember too, and like it's another thing. Like I actually, it was cool. I actually got to be an extra on a film, an Adam Sandler film, Hubie Halloween, that came up recently, and that was a surreal experience because that was kind of really my first time, being on a set and getting on there, and we shot like the whole day or whatever, and it was just so cool and crazy to see the behind the scenes aspect of things, and you don't realize, some people don't realize the amount of work, from like the catering, the costumes,
to the camera guys, and you got the ADs, assistants running around making sure everybody's hydrated. And now even with COVID, with the pandemic, there's extra safety precautions. I mean, even though I don't have on the mask right now, I'm at my studio by myself.
yeah.
But they took all, I just love being on production sets like that where they take everything serious, and they're very conscious about the safety of everybody else. And Marvel did a phenomenal job of that.
Yeah, and that's a reason why we got those 7 minutes of credits at the end of each episode, because how many people like go into working on the show, like
Absolutely. And every person deserves it. Every person deserves it on this show.
100%. So I hope, so all you people, even though, because a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard it, David, a lot of people, it's like, oh my God, we get like the 6-7 minutes of credits at the end of each episode. but you got to realize, yeah, how much work each individual that come up like on those credits, how much work they put into to bring the show to you guys. So
Right. And not to mention, I mean, there's other cultures that are, that are watching too. So they have it in different languages, and I thought that was extremely thoughtful.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, now, did you get a chance? Because I know you mentioned you kind of had, you said to kind of like, did you get a chance to actually pick their brains as far as, like Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, and Catherine Hahn, as far as, because like these guys have been, they're veterans, obviously, and especially like Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, as far as like the MCU goes. Did you get their pick their brains as far as just like what to expect as far as like just like the MCU like goes like overall as like a whole, or
No, I think I just had conversations with them, not necessarily to like, hey, where am I gonna be or what's, it was all organic, and whatever they were willing to share, I soaked it all in. I mean, I didn't care about the information itself or like specified information. I'm just glad that they gave me information, and that was the best part. I mean, a regular conversation can turn into a 10-15 minute conversation, and you grab all this information that's so beneficial. And at the time I wasn't intentionally trying to do that. It was just we were having so much fun on set, and it was such a great collaboration, and everyone knew what they were doing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it was just like, all right. And the little free time that we have with our mask on, like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing fine. How about yourself? And it went from there. So, that's pretty much how it went down. And those are just moments that you cherish, and I definitely cherish those.
oh yeah, for sure. And I imagine like like yourself too, with like this being one of your like big breaks, just getting to kind of to talk to some of these, like these like veterans and stuff like that. And like you said, just anything that they're willing to share with you or whatever, just taking that and applying it to like your next roles and stuff like that. Do you have so as far as obviously we're not going to talk, and I'm trying my best to like to not give you any kind of questions that will get you in trouble, David. I promise. But
Okay, cool.
you have a favorite episode as far as the series goes, up to this point? I'll tell you mine like afterwards, but do you have a favorite episode that, like sticks out to you?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them? Okay, fair enough.
Every last one. Every last one. I'm in love with this show. It's dope. Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you there. I would say like I do I love the show every episode as well. I would say for me, mostly I think because I'm a big Halloween, like person. So I would say definitely episode 6, the Halloween episode was a big standout for me. One, just because like the whole vibe and everything, and also because that it was funny because that lined up with the time because I was born in 1990, so like that kind of like lines up when like I was like a kid, so that like time period. So I think maybe that's why it resonated with me as well. um but as far as your Frankenstein costume, like in the episode, how long did it take for you to like to get that like put on for as far as like filming goes?
It took a little minute. It wasn't as long as you think. It's it it took a decent amount of time. I don't know.
It wasn't like hours or anything like that?
No, it wasn't hours or anything. It was nothing like Paul's costume where that takes some time.
Wow, yeah.
But I mean, it was a decent amount of time. Even like during the process, I'm looking at myself. I'm like, yeah, I don't look normal. I don't even look like me. And then when they finally put the hair on, I'm like, oh snap! I got a hot top. Oh wow! I remember those days. Kind of had flashbacks. But
I
it was
loved
yeah.
your costume though. Just seeing, Frankenstein. Obviously, it was cool to also see Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany being in like the comic accurate Avenger, costumes. That was really fun to see. But I mean, all of the different costumes and stuff. That was yeah. So that episode in general, that was one that just like really connected with me. So I was curious to see, you know, what you would say. I had a feeling you would probably say like each one because they all have their different aspects and reasons why I imagine that why you like them. But yeah, so that's why the Halloween episode kind of stands out for me. Did you do as far as like, you know, once you got like the role, did you do anything in particular to, you know, prepare for it? I know some of like the actors like Elizabeth, Paul, and Catherine and stuff like that, they went through like a sitcom boot camp like training. Did you have to do anything like that, or was there anything that you did specifically to prepare for the role?
There was some. I mean, I did some self-imposed training, um, but the specifics probably can't get into that. Being that the season's still going, because possibly I can get.
That's fair.
I did do some self-imposed training.
That's totally fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble on anything.
I appreciate that because you know the Marvel gun is like.
We're watching you, David.
Right.
Now, so this question, if you had your own hex that you controlled, what shows would it resemble? And like this is completely not like tying necessarily into the show. Just if you had your own, like what shows did you kind of like grow up watching, or what would it look like?
Oh, man, that's a dope question. I think I would if I had my own hex, what shows would I? It would definitely be Martin.
Yep.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Living Color.
That's a pretty good selection.
Probably Family Matters and The Cosby Show. Those are probably the ones I would probably.
Pretty solid selection. I like those choices there. Yeah, I was like, I know this could kind of be like interpreted as like spoilers, but no, this is just like you're like if you.
Oh no, this has
Your own,
has nothing to do. This is just my
Yeah.
I can't do it like Wanda. Wanda's she got that down pat.
So it's now that you're officially a part of the MCU, you are a character that is like in the MCU universe. If you could pick from any of like the movies that have come out, like so far, any of like the franchises, whether it's like Thor, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, if you could pick from like any one of those franchises to possibly pop up in as like a completely like different character, like is there a specific movie or like franchise that you would want to show up in?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that's a question. Man, that's a great question. I think that's more of a question that I think the fans can answer more so.
Yeah.
Where would they want to see me? Because I wouldn't mind being in all of them. But I think that's a question I'll leave up to the fans and see what they say.
Well, fans, yeah. Let us know, once this interview's up, definitely let us know down below in the comments, which role or which, movie franchise would you like to see, David, if out of all the Marvel movies that you'd like to see him pop up in, let us know for sure. And originally, WandaVision actually, it's kind of crazy because WandaVision originally wasn't supposed to be the first series to kick off, the Disney Plus shows and just like the Phase 4. It was actually, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I wasn't sure if you're actually like aware of that because it looks like you might not have been. Yeah, no, as far as that goes, did that put any kind of like extra did it make you like nervous, like just waiting to see like how the show was going to be received like once it like came out?
Not at all. I mean, to me that wasn't even my focus. I wasn't even in my thought process at the time. At the time I was just glad that I glad that I got called, I got booked. And after that, once I celebrated that, I was like, okay, it's time to put on the binders and be laser focused on the character. My goal is just to give the best, version of myself through her / John Collins. as I possibly could. So I really wasn't worrying about if the show would do a certain type of way. I just wanted to just give my best performance possible.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's something that, because like I feel like I've talked to other people, like other actors and actresses like before, and it's one of those things. We talked kind of a little bit about it as far as, do you actively like seek out feedback on like your specific character, or is that something like even after, like once the show's like coming out, or is that something that you kind of try to like stay away from?
I guess I don't really, it's like I said, it's not really my focus. So, once I do the work, obviously during the process, I'm constantly, trying to learn and, taking direction, from Matt during this process. And if Matt wants something done a certain way, I listen and I go from there. But as far as like, if after everything's done, I enjoy the moment. Just like now, I'm enjoying watching it with the fans. So that's what I'm just, at that point, it's time to have fun. Have fun during the process, and after the process, just it's a joy just to watch.
Now is hopefully be able to, I don't know if it'll be this year, like maybe next year, as far as once things kind of hopefully go back to a little bit more of a normal state, with like after like COVID and stuff like that goes, would you be interested in doing any of like Comic Cons or like conventions like afterwards? Like I know like for me, that's something I love doing, before everything, kind of happened, like going to meet different people and stuff like that, and just being immersed like in that culture. And like, would that be something that you would be like interested in, like, doing like afterwards?
I remember when, because what's funny, I don't think I've ever been to a Comic Con. No, as a matter of fact, I haven't. I've never been.
I was going to ask you.
And as a kid, now that I'm a part of such a legendary show, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, if you've never been, it's wild, especially going to some of the bigger conventions. Just the amount of people that that go to them.
Yeah, I watched some of that on TV and on the web. I'm like, wow, oh yeah, y'all are legit. This is real deal.
And then you start seeing some herbs coming up, showing dressed up as like your character, and like I feel like seeing that is just like wow, like seeing for the first time, seeing people dressed up as like a specific character, that's got to be like pretty wild. So I definitely hope once everything's kind of settled down, we get to see you do some of these like shows and stuff like that. Now, if you had to pick one of the decades that Wanda or like WandaVision has paid tribute to, as far as up to this point, as far as like the sitcoms and stuff like that goes, if you had to pick like one of those decades to go in and actually like live in there, for like the rest of your life, like which decade would you want to pick?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I mean, I can't pick all of them. I'll try to jump through all of them. That's me. I can't stay in one place. I'm gonna try and jump through all of them the best way I can. But oh man, that's a tough question.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Was it as far as like playing your character in the different decades, was it challenging to do that, to play the same character but then having to slightly switch up his approach like depending on like the decade that you're in? Was that like challenging, or was it fairly easy to switch like into?
For me, it was kind of fairly easy because I knew what decade I was going to. So I just did the proper research, and I just moved forward from there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if it would be, if it would be hard, like you're the same character, but at the same, there's like little nuances and stuff like that. I mean, the comedy is like obviously different depending on like, especially like the decades, like the 50s, 60s and stuff like that. That's a lot different than what, like the 90s and the 2000s, as far as like the comedy goes. So I was wondering if that was like kind of weird too, as far as just like the comedic aspect of it.
No, no, it was definitely a challenge, which was a good thing, and I think that's what made it so cool because, you have to every decade had like a different dialogue for Herb's character. So, certain things that I can say in one decade, I would never say in this particular decade. So it was pretty cool to see that. I was like, okay, I can't say that, but if I say it like this, okay, doing things of that nature, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. And as far as just working on the show, obviously, like you said, it's been magical. It's been a blast. What's going to be the biggest thing that you take away from, just this whole experience as far as, just like for yourself and then like moving forward, with your career?
Everything. I mean, from the relationships to the experience as a whole, to having the conversations, to, just sitting there and just absorbing everything, man. I mean, it was dope. And, as cliche as it sounds, when I say it was magical, it was wonderful. It was an amazing experience. It's all true. And so to take all of that and, use that as momentum moving forward is truly a blessing, man. I be talking to God like, man, you really dope for that. Like, thank you for hooking me up with that. Like, that was cool. So that was a pretty nice blessing you gave me moving forward. So that's how I see it.
That's all. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And as far as what in general, just what is next for David Payton, and is there anything else that you want to say to all the fans out there?
Right now it's only time will tell. There's some projects out there for me, and we're gonna see what happens. In the meantime, what I'm doing is just continuing to work on my craft and communicate with the fans the best way I can, and just see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you again, David. I mean, appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. This it was a lot of fun to have you on the show. Talk about what you can, obviously, about the show. So
right.
I appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate it, man. This is a huge week. I'm super excited. I even got on my WandaVision gear.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got the shirt.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to steal that shirt. I know I won't be able to fit it, but I'm gonna need you to go ahead and rip that off and send it my way.
Here you go. Yeah, no, I'm ready to go, man. I'm sure all you guys out there, watching this afterwards. Obviously, the finale is this week. This interview will be up, before the finale, so that way you can watch this before you're watching WandaVision on Friday. Again, thank you, David. I appreciate you taking time and answering all these questions. Thank you so much.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is David Payton, and I play the character of Herb/John Collins on Marvel's WandaVision. And you're listening to Pop Culture with Pat. Get you on the flip side.